Hey guys, how's it going? It's Calvin Raab. So as you know, there are good decisions that are out there, and there are bad decisions that are out there, and this certainly pertains to personal finance. You can have good financial decisions, and you can also make some bad ones, and I'm human, I've made a little bit of both, and I've made videos on both as well. However, in this video, I want to focus on the bad decisions, because oftentimes these can be most detrimental to your finance as a whole, because what may seem like one little small bad decision can oftentimes grow into a very big decision that hurts you quite a bit. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 5 different financial decisions that are not that great of ideas, can dig you into a bigger hole, so it's important to know them and be aware of them. You may know of some of these, while as others you may not be as familiar with. So let's just go over 5, because these are 5 different financial decisions that continue to keep you poor if you aren't aware of them and kind of snap out of them. So let's get into it. The first one is no emergency fund. This is very prevalent with young people such as myself and in college. There's a lot of people who don't have an emergency fund because we somehow think we can never get hurt. Something can never bad happen to us. And in the end, something usually does. You know, we have to go to the hospital for some reason, some extra expense comes up, rent goes up in a price or something along those lines, and we have to be ready for it, because what happens is you run into an instance where all of a sudden you need a lot of money and then you don't know what to do. That's when people get into like taking out loans or asking other people for money, and it's just a mess of a situation, and oftentimes however you resolve that situation can put you in a worse situation than you were before. So you want to protect yourself with a buffer, and that is oftentimes through an emergency fund. So I made an entire video about how much you should have in your emergency fund, so I highly recommend checking that video out. But other than that, just be aware that you want to have some money set aside. You know, you don't want to be running on this budget where you have all these expected expenses and you are maxing out your paycheck every single month. No, you don't want to do that. You want to have at least some of it tucked away into an emergency fund so you're okay if you lose your job or if some other expense comes up. The number 2 mistake is credit card debt. Now, this is a huge one in the United States. Consumer debt is an unbelievable amount of number. It's trillions and trillions of dollars. And oftentimes people get into it somewhat innocently, you know, not understanding how big of a problem it can be. You know, they spend a little bit more on the credit card than they actually have. You know, like, what's 50, what's $100, I'll easily be able to pay it off next month. But then what happens is they do it again and again, and it gets a little bit bigger, and then what kills them is when you have that interest on the credit card. You know, I've seen interest rates in up to like 30%, unbelievable numbers that just create this huge snowball of debt, and you just don't even want to start going down that path. Now, I do use credit cards. I don't want to sound hypocritical here, but I do use credit cards. However, because I pay them off every month, because I am responsible with my credit cards, I can use the rewards to my advantage. But if you don't feel you can be responsible with credit cards, then never using them is probably your best bet, because they can run into a whole lot of debt, and it's just a snowball of debt that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger due to that interest rate. The third mistake is living above one's pay grade. Now, this is something that I see quite a bit in college and with young people in general. Especially in college, I see a lot of people that are always asking me like, oh, do you want to go out to eat? And they ask me every single night. I'm like, do you guys have some extra funnel of money coming in? Because going out to eat costs quite a bit, and for me, it's not quite in my budget. I may be able to afford it, but it's not the best financial decision for me. I also see a lot of people buying very expensive clothing, and a big one, this is the biggest one that I see with kind of younger millennials, college students, kind of within my age group, and that is they buy nice cars. You know, they're buying to impress people, and it just gets them into all this debt, and it's just not a good situation. So you want to be very honest with yourself and say, this is what I can live at. This is the amount of money that I can spend, and you want to maximize that. You know, I still go out to eat. I still buy nice clothing. However, I don't do it all the time, and I enjoy the moments where I do go out to eat. And this is all for the end in mind. You know, I want to save up and invest so I have more money later in life. Number 4 is not planning or budgeting. Now, this is a mistake that I made. I didn't do this for a while, and I just kind of kept everything in my head. I was like, all right, this is how much I have, this is how much I'm spending, this is how much I'm investing. But eventually it got a little complicated and I wasn't able to do it. And once I ended up actually planning kind of my finances and budgeting, everything became a lot clearer. I was able to save a lot more money easily, and I was able to see where I was having these little just frivolous expenses that I don't really need. So once you start budgeting, you really take control of your finances. Before you start budgeting, before you start planning, I feel like you're kind of at the will of your money and it's kind of directing you. But as soon as you start planning, as soon as you start budgeting, those kind of power situations, it flips and you are now controlling your money, and that's the situation that you want to be on. You want to control where your money is going. The money doesn't want to control where you go. So it can be as basic as just looking at your account balance, looking at your bank account and seeing where your money's going, how much you have coming in, and just seeing what you can trim off a little bit. See how you can change things, and budgeting like, all right, this is much for food, this much for entertainment and different things like that, just to get an idea of your finances, what it's looking like, just to get you on a right path. And the reason that not doing this can keep you poor is that oftentimes you don't see debt racking up. So if you aren't really budgeting and you aren't really planning and you don't have a good idea of what your finances look like, oftentimes debt can start growing more and more and more, and you're not even aware of how much it's growing, and that's not a situation you want to be in. Number 5 is college debt with no plan. And this one's really sad because I see a lot of people in college, I'm a junior, and I see a lot of people going completely in debt with a major that isn't expected to make a lot of money afterwards as far as average salary is concerned. So they don't really have a plan to pay it off, and they're going all in debt. And college debt was something that always worried me. That's why I kind of took an unorthodox route to college. I made a video about how I saved $40,000 with one decision. You can see that. That's kind of about my college journey, how I saved that much money. But otherwise, if you are going in debt, you want to at least know how much you can. Kind of a rule of thumb is that the amount of debt you should take out should be less than your expected starting salary year one once you get into the job that you want or that your career is destined for. So you just want to be able to control a little bit. This isn't saying college debt is a completely bad thing. You know, a lot of it is, but oftentimes I know a lot of people going into a manageable amount of debt that they'll be able to pay off within 1 or 2, maybe 3 years after college. But it's when it gets to a huge amount where there's no plan, you know, the job doesn't look like it's going to be able to pay off that debt, and you're just going to be paying debt payments for who knows how long, and that's when you want to be wary. And it's hard because you're making these decisions when you're 17, 18 years old, making these college decisions, and it's a lot of pressure to put on someone at a young age, and it's sad. I mean, if you look how much college debt there is, you know, when I was making my video about what's going to cause the next recession, this was one of the things that I was like, this could cause it. You know, as student debt gets larger and larger and larger, eventually people are just not going to be able to pay it, and it's frightening. And my heart goes out to people that I see that are going through that, and it's tough. And I think being a college student, I see it firsthand. So that will wrap it up. And I think an important takeaway from this is to notice that at first they don't seem like big deals. You know, what's a little bit of college debt? What's a little bit of credit card debt? What's a little bit of not planning or budgeting and different things like that? That can't hurt me, but in reality, these little decisions that just start out little, they grow and grow, and compound interest just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and they turn into something that you never ever expected, and it can run into a really rough situation. So what you want to do is you just want to take it out by the roots, and that is be aware of it before you even get started. So I think that's the importance of this video, and there's many others too. You know, these are just 5 different decisions. I know there are so many more. These were just kind of 5 of the biggest ones that I saw. So what are some other decisions that people make that are keeping them poor? If you could let me know in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on that. I look forward to talking to you guys about that, and just let me know down there. But that will wrap it up. This is an important topic. I want to keep the conversation going in the comments below, but thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Congratulations. So I'm going to move to the corner of your screen here. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, you are going to see my most recent video. And if you look in the lower left-hand corner, you're going to see a video that YouTube and I each think that you would like. And if you haven't yet, you can hit my face right here and subscribe. As always, my name is Calvin Raab, and I'll see you soon.